What up, it's Prime Pete. I've recently talked about how there are going to be two back-to-back Black Ops titles coming this year and in 2025. This year we'll see Black Ops Gulf War, a sequel to Cold War, and in 2025 we'll see a game which is now codenamed Saturn, which is set in 2030 as a direct sequel to Black Ops 2. Along with the leaks of these games have come leaks about upcoming maps that are going to be available at launch, but the main focus is that there's going to be heaps of remastered Black Ops maps coming to these titles, maybe even to the extent of counting as launch maps. Although remastered maps are a cool concept, and you can revive the good old days in some sense, that's not what happened with Modern Warfare 3. They were simply a selling point, and by the time you got into the game, you noticed that none of the maps played the same, the spawns were awful, and every match was just a total sweat fest. Needless to say, original maps and good mechanics don't just make a game good anymore. There's behind the scenes package that comes along with the game, and that has to be just as good, especially in multiplayer games. Now that we've established the fact that Call of Duty is trying to totally abuse nostalgia to sell copies, even though Modern Warfare 3, despite having old maps, is nothing like the original Modern Warfare 2, it's time to drop kind of a conspiracy theory on you guys. What if Black Ops 2025 is a DLC to Black Ops Gulf War? And right off the bat, that seems like an easily disputable claim. Well, Pete, Black Ops Gulf War is set in 1990, while the DLC you're proposing will happen is going to be set in 2030. How is that even a feasible claim? And to that I say, you're probably right, but there are reasons that this could potentially happen. Let's entertain them for a bit. I mean, the same thing happened with Modern Warfare, except in inverse form. First, we were promised DLC. Then we were given what was supposed to pass as a full title, at least in regards to its pricing. The game basically is a DLC, especially considering everything from Modern Warfare 2 is in Modern Warfare 3. Sure, the minimal amount of Modern Warfare 3 content, like the remastered maps and the new weapons, are paywalled, but it doesn't make it any less of an expansion. It's on the same engine, carries the guns and maps over, and offers new maps and guns. Sounds like a DLC to me. Anywho, let's unpack this. For starters, modern COD engines and graphics are extremely state-of-the-art, and that's no exaggeration. Mid-tier PCs have a difficult time running the game without upscaling the resolution and turning down graphics settings. Low-end PCs don't have a chance. The physics, animations, and gunplay have become so smooth, and the quality of the gameplay and responsiveness to your inputs is unlike any other game in recent years. The closest I've seen anyone compete thus far in a first-person shooter is the Finals. But being an extremely high-budget game, and the most popular first-person shooter, it goes without saying that COD's engine should be, and is, incredibly advanced. This being said, let's consider Call of Duty games from Modern Warfare 2019 onward. That's 5 titles: Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare DLC. Now, which of these games share an engine? Well, Modern Warfare 2019 and Vanguard share an engine, although Vanguard slightly messed with the mechanics a tad. Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 also share an engine, and Modern Warfare 3 did the same thing. It updated the movement and gunplay, and the overall game mechanics to be much smoother than the inexcusable garbage it was in Modern Warfare 2. But there's one outlier: Cold War. Now, barring the fact that Treyarch got absolutely robbed, only being able to put out one Black Ops game in 5 years, Cold War didn't run on anything that resembled the Modern Warfare or Modern Warfare 2 engine. It ran on an engine that was unique to that game. However, Activision did not decide to develop a new engine for COD until both Modern Warfare 2019 and Vanguard used the same engine. That's a 3-year-long relevancy for the Modern Warfare 2019 engine. Throw in the 2-year-long relevancy for the Modern Warfare 2 engine, and we have a pretty consistent pattern here. Ever since Modern Warfare 2019, or the quote-unquote next era of COD, where engines went completely next-gen, we haven't ever had 2 games made by the same studio that switches engines. Cold War was the only exception because Treyarch was at the forefront. We've only got new engines every 2 games that have Infinity Ward at the helm, but also, Treyarch was never given a chance to release 2 games in 2 back-to-back years. This begs the question, because modern COD engines are so complex and advanced, and Treyarch are releasing 2 back-to-back Black Ops titles, how are they going to handle this situation? Will they seriously design 2 new advanced modern engines for both 2024 and 2025? Well, let's consider the challenges for both sides. If they decide to develop a new engine for Black Ops 2025, then there is no way that it is DLC. DLC has to run on the same engine, or else the games cannot be one and the same. So if that's the case closed. I reiterate, Gulf War is set in the 90s, and Black Ops 2025 is set in 2030. How could a game set 40 years in the future be DLC? Well, I could potentially see ways that the campaigns could tie into each other in some far-fetched way, and since it's just a video game, the multiplayer could technically include equipment from the 90s and from 2030. Warzone did that with World War II guns and 2020 guns, so it's not like it's a foreign concept for COD to destroy the space-time continuum for a Warzone integration. But what if they are on the same engine? That raises some interesting questions. It might just be enough of an excuse to make another DLC happen. It can be really convenient for them to to do that because then content can be flown and ported between games at will, and that can prove to be very useful when trying to fill a game with enough content, especially when the studio is split with one part making one game and one part making an entirely different one that is supposed to come out the following year. If there's a leak about the games running on the same engine, I'd say there's a very strong chance that Black Ops 2025 will turn out to be DLC, as I think with engines this advanced, this may be where COD is headed. However, we also have to keep something else in mind. Activision, despite being eventually purchased by Microsoft in late last year, clearly did not want to advertise Modern Warfare 3 as a DLC, because there likely would have been a lot of backlash for openly charging $70 for a DLC update, which makes perfect sense. It's no wonder they flipped the script on their dev teams and made them come up with a way to market Modern Warfare 3 as a full game, despite me literally proving earlier that the game is a DLC that they not so cleverly disguised. They really could only pull a fast one on customers who do not pay attention whatsoever and don't question anything that they do. People who believe that Activision can do no wrong have a pretty delusional perspective at this point in COD's lifespan. So on the flip side, can Activision, or now Microsoft who owns them, really afford to have Black Ops 2025 be a DLC when they want the maximum amount of money they can possibly get away with from selling the game? And the answer to that is, of course not. So even if they decide to integrate the two newest Black Ops games together, they will find a way out of making the game look like a DLC and charge full price for both. So the question isn't if it will be a DLC per se. The question is, will it be another DLC disguised as a full game just so they can have an excuse to charge $70? And honestly, the answer seems pretty shrouded in mystery at this point in time. It really could go either way. We know that studios like Treyarch and Sledgehammer seem to want the best for players, but Activision always had a chokehold on them. Sledgehammer wanted to communicate with the player base about everything, but they've only talked about silly things like the armory system. They haven't actually addressed the spawns or the matchmaking yet. Treyarch was reportedly being heavily overshadowed by Activision within the development of Cold War and couldn't execute their exact vision, according to leaks and reports circulating when the game was in the spotlight. Both games that had the most potential to turn out great, which I believe to be indisputably Black Ops Cold War and Modern Warfare 3, because they had Treyarch and Sledgehammer leading the project, were both ruined by Activision because they had to throw in everything else that makes the game experience more inorganic and manipulative to make sure everyone stayed playing the game and spending money on cosmetics. So even if Treyarch can get their way with the game design, will the games actually be good? Well, if there's some unrelenting overlord watching their every move and dictating the behind-the-scenes algorithms, then unfortunately, most likely not. But fortunately for us, Activision was bought by Microsoft, and along with that, it seems like some changes will happen. We're still waiting on that matchmaking talk, that won't ever happen, and I'm also waiting on the reported change to the matchmaking that Phil Spencer was allegedly emailing some executive about. I haven't touched COD in a month now, and I'm basically done with the franchise until something big happens. Like, really big. Like, acknowledging the matchmaking in spawns and actively changing them big. I really like other games now too, and I'm not exclusively playing COD like I was a couple years ago, which has actually been really nice. Lego Star Wars has actually turned out to be a lot of fun. The last concern I have is, will Black Ops 2025 be low effort and rushed because Treyarch will be spread too thin? And honestly, I cannot easily answer that question. Since one leaked before the other, I'm assuming one has been in development slightly longer than the other, and the projects were not started at the same time. And obviously, multiple COD games are in development at any given point. There's probably COD 2026 and 2027 in the works right now as we speak. So honestly, probably not. Not many COD games have been really rushed, except for Cold War, Vanguard, and Modern Warfare 3, all because the studios had their time cut short by scummy Activision. Now that there's new leadership and Activision is in new hands, maybe the developers will finally be given what they need. Change is always what we hope for when it comes to COD, but as always, we'll have to wait and see. But if it ends up being a DLC on the same engine, I totally called it. What do you guys think about there being two back-to-back Black Ops titles? Do you think there's a solid chance that Black Ops 2025 is a DLC for this year's game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Take it easy.